So welcome everyone who's in the webinar. Let me know if you can't hear me or see me, or if you encounter any issues. The chat function you should be able to use. And we are very thrilled to have you join us today. We'll dive into the topic of Prompt Like a Pro AI skills for testers. My name is Esther. I'm the project manager of Undergone Academy, and I will be your host for this session. Just for you, so you know, this session is part of a series of webinars that we've launched about a year ago, I think. And after the webinar, if you feel like you'd like to check out more of our content, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, where we post updates and insights mostly about software testing and QA. If you prefer the email channel and would like to stay up to date with training courses that will launch in the future, you can also have a chance. You'll also have a chance to sign up for our newsletter after the webinar. And just to give you a little bit of overview, the presentation will approximately take an hour today, and this will be 45 minutes of presentation and then 15 minutes of Q&A. So in total, we should be done around 5 p.m. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat in the meantime. We'll collect all the questions and ask them in the QA at the end. But if I would forget to ask something, then please just send it again in the chat and we'll make sure that all of your questions can be answered. And without further ado, we're really excited to have Senior Test Automation Engineer Hubert Niewiński with us today. Hubert has over 6 years of experience in software testing. He has worked with companies like Seri International, NetGuru, GFT Technologies, and C Poland. And he's an experienced public speaker as well, known from events like Meet.js and BLQA, and has delivered talks and webinars on topics ranging from test automation to AI testing. Hubert is also a technical assessor at C Poland, so he has conducted over 50 interviews for testing roles, and he's designed automation frameworks for international clients as well. He holds multiple certifications, including the ISTQB Foundation level and the AI testing certificates, as well as Microsoft and AWS cloud credentials. So he's even been recognized as a BrowserStack champion for his contributions to the testing community. And without further ado, after this introduction, I would like to hand it over to you, Hubert, to present us.
Yes, sure. So, hello everyone. Hopefully you can hear me well. If not, please inform me. So Esther already introduced me, so I won't spend more time on that. So we will just start the presentation. So you see the first slide, but let's start with the agenda. So you can quickly see what we are going to talk about here. So have a few seconds to read that, maybe. I won't waste time on reading that aloud, maybe. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so first, the presentation is about prompting skills. So first we need to start from the basics and answer the questions why this is even important. So let's start from kind of maybe a bit obvious things, but I still think it's good to build some foundation before we move to more advanced topics. So point first is about something that I strongly believe it's the single most important sentence that I would like you to remember from this presentation. So in my opinion, in the foreseeable future, it wouldn't be the case that AI will just replace testers, developers, or any IT specialists, but it will just divide them into two groups, one that can use AI tools efficiently, and the second one that cannot. And the second one can struggle in the job market, in my opinion. So I think it's a good idea to do everything we can to be in the first group, because AI tools maybe cannot replace that, but they can improve our skills and our effectiveness by a big margin. So moving to point 2, it's like a continuation of the point 1. So basically knowing how to use AI tools, and in this case we are mostly talking about AI-based chats like ChatGPT or Claude or etc. So if you can use them efficiently, that can be your advantage in the job market. So it's important to put effort into learning that skill. And point 3 is related to my personal experience as well, because even when I, for example, do some training or sites like Udemy or any other sites related to learning, or I watch some webinars like Andagon, for example, some webinars or other stuff. There are some things that are hard to understand at first, and then I ask ChatGPT or similar tools for explanation. Sometimes I even mention that please explain me this in as simple terms as you can. And usually with that, it's much easier to understand the programming concepts or some concepts related to software testing. So even if you don't maybe use it to do some task, but it still can benefit you in understanding better how to do and how to learn new things. And the fourth point is, again, it's about your advantage in the job market or compared to other people who don't use AI tools that much. So for example, when it comes to coding, or in this case, writing test automation scripts, sometimes we talk about 4 eyes principle. So having a good code reviewer is important, but it's not possible in all cases, because there are projects where you are the only person responsible for test automation, and then you don't have a good code reviewer, or for example, you are the most skilled and experienced in the project, so you don't have anyone with skills good enough to maybe do code review for you efficiently, but still it's good to have someone, or maybe something in this case when we are talking about AI tools, to have like a second opinion, to catch maybe some mistakes in your code, in your automation scripts, or even things that you can just simply do better. Okay, let's move to the next. So now we are going to talk about testing activities that can be improved by good prompting skills. So first, the most popular probably and most obvious is generating test cases and test data. And here I would like to elaborate that the more generic the feature you are testing is, the more AI tools can help you. So for example, when we are talking about stuff like login feature looks more or less the same in almost every application. There are some small differences, but in general, you always have happy paths, so successful login. You always have unsuccessful login, so incorrect password, incorrect username, password expiration, and things like that. So in that kind of generic features, AI tools can help you a lot. When we are talking about more specific features, then it might be more difficult. But even if it's not possible in some cases, there are always some features that AI tools can help you with test cases creation and test data creation. Second point is reviewing and improving test scripts. So again, if you, for example, don't have a good code reviewer, you can utilize AI tools. Or even if you have code reviewer, it's still one more thing that can one more tool that can help you with code quality. It's always beneficial. And the third point is explaining code or test failures. So sometimes your test fails when we are talking about test automation. But if you are not that proficient with coding, maybe the error messages are a bit too advanced to you to understand it deeply. It's called stack trace of error. Then you can copy paste it if there are no sensitive data, of course, but usually in most cases it can be pasted safely into a tool like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or similar. And then it will explain the error in a more simpler term, and it will be easier for you to understand what is exactly wrong in this case. And fourth point is identifying edge cases and risks. So let's say you are working on a project from automotive branch, for example, and you've never worked in a project like that before. So you might be not aware of some edge cases and risks specific to this sector. And then you can maybe ask ChatGPT or similar tool what edge cases are in this particular case worth investigating. And so things that you might miss due to lack of experience in certain sectors, branches, then AI tools can help you with determining these edge cases and risks. So that can be beneficial as well. Next thing is common mistakes when prompting. So now we're going to talk about things that you should not do. And then we will later move to more positive ideas that can help with better prompting. But let's start with things that it's better to avoid. So first, it's quite general, but still it's worth remembering. So being too vague or unclear. So in general, the biggest obstacle with AI tools communication is that they don't know all the context we know. So if our project is very big, has a lot of documentation, usually AI tools are not aware of that. So if you and then people try to prompt and they are kind of annoyed or angry that the answer is not good enough for their particular case. But that's usually because the AI tool doesn't know the context that you know. So you are comparing someone with months of experience in the project with some AI tool that just got one prompt without many details. So in this case, AI tool cannot compete and cannot provide detailed enough answer. Second thing is asking too many things in one prompt. So let's talk about it on an example. So I was creating a website some time ago using GitHub Copilot, so with cooperation with GitHub Copilot. And if you prompt GitHub Copilot, please create me a website with features A, B, C, D, and with login feature, for example, with blue background and things like that, then it will create something. It might be even working, but most probably it will not look good. It will be very generic, like boring, and it won't be good enough to share with anyone in 99% cases. So the correct way is to let's, for example, start with styling. So propose 3 or 4 styles of the application, like colors, fonts, etc. Then you move feature by feature. So first you start with login, then each prompt is just a small instruction. And then if you like it, you move to the next part. If you don't like it, you try to change the feature. And this way, like small thing by small thing, moving forward step by step, you can achieve much better result. Third point is again about not giving enough context or details. So when your prompt is too general. Fourth is ignoring or not refining AI's responses. So sometimes we get the answer, and the answer is kind of okay, but instead of trying to just talk with the chatbot and maybe refine the answer by providing some more details or telling what we like about it and what we don't like, we just stick to the first initial answer, and then the end result is not the best, not optimal. And fifth point is sharing personal or sensitive data in prompts. This is actually the most common problem for enterprise companies. So there are many enterprise companies that block usage of AI tools, at least some of them, because they are afraid that the employees might share some personal or sensitive company data. So we always need to double check what we are pasting. And if there are some sensitive data like people names, company names, we can, for example, change it to test company 1, test company 2, or John Doe, or some general names, just to not use any real any data of existing people or some other sensitive or personal data. Okay, now let's move to skills needed for effective prompting. So we spoke about what not to do in prompting, and now we are moving to what we should do in prompting. So first, again, let's start from a general tip: clear and concise communication. So we should treat communication with AI tools and chatbots like quite similar actually to communication with people. Of course, under the hood, it's advanced statistics, but still, when you just communicate, you don't need to be aware of all the advanced math and statistics under the hood. So second point is ability to break down complex tasks. So this is how, for example, algorithms work. So algorithms, they are way older than any AI tools, but they are about breaking down some bigger things into smaller things that can be built step by step. And this is how we should try to interact with AI tools as well. First, the third point is attention to detail. So sometimes quite small detail can improve the AI tool answer by a lot. So at first it may not look that important to us, but actually it can improve significantly the quality of the answer we got. Fourth point is critical thinking to review and refine responses. So again, even if we get the response, because more or less everyone can write a prompt, but in my opinion, the real struggle is how to evaluate the answer. So the ability to evaluate which answer is actually good, and the ability to spot some answers that might be incorrect or might be not tailored enough to our needs. And that is the real difference between people who communicate with AI tools efficiently and not efficiently. And fifth point is the at least basic understanding of the topic you are prompting about. So, for example, let's talk about coding. So even though tools like GitHub Copilot or similar or Cursor, even though they help you with writing code significantly, they are still not perfect, and they are still won't make a good programmer out out of someone who never write even one line of code. So you still need to be a decent programmer. You have to get at least a decent understanding of code to communicate efficiently with tools like that, because someone from a totally different sector than IT using these tools might be able to create some applications, but they certainly won't be good enough for commercial use. So you need to at least have basic understanding of the topic you are communicating about. Okay, and now let's talk about what makes a good prompt. So point first is clear and specific wording. So I think it's quite obvious. Second is relevant context and background included. So in the later slides, you will see some concrete examples of what does it mean to include relevant context and what does it mean to not include relevant context. Point three is focused on one task or question. So again, try to always have this step-by-step approach and don't overwhelm the AI tool with your prompt. Don't ask too many things in one prompt, especially if they are not closely related to each other. Point four is define format or example if needed. Again, you will see examples of that in later slides. But sometimes if we want to have a consistent styling, it's good to provide some example from the past, like for example, social media post from the past, that then the AI tool will know what style we are using and try to tailor it to be as similar as possible. And fifth is no unnecessary or sensitive information. So again, please double check if you are not pasting or typing anything sensitive. And also, even though it's better to include too many pieces of information than too few pieces of information, but still, of course, if we provide some details that are completely not important for our case, we maybe, even if we don't worsen the quality of the response, we waste our time for because we take more time to prompt, and so we waste more time in such situations. Okay, and now we will move to our more practical things with prompting techniques and examples. So here on this slide, you see all the techniques that we will be speaking about in the upcoming slides. Zero and few shot prompting, role prompting, ask before answer, decomposition, contextual, self-reflective, chain of thought, iterative refinement, output formatting, and constraint based. Okay, so let's start with zero and few shot prompting. So zero shot prompting is when you don't provide any examples of the response that you would like to have. So for example, if you ask AI tool to write a social media post and you use zero shot prompting, then it might turn out that the post that you got in the response is like stylistically totally different to the post that you had before in your social media. So for example, if you use a lot of humor, but the AI tool is not aware of that, then you might get a post that is like totally without any humor, without any emojis, and it will just feel totally different than what you did in the past. And few shot prompting is when you ask for something and you provide some examples of similar things from the past. So on the example about social media. So for like here you can see it's about writing a tweet, and you provided 3 examples, and then the tweet that you got in the response is quite similar to the tweets from the past. It had some, maybe not that much humor, but some at least tries to, and most importantly, it has emojis. So if you use a lot of emojis, then if you provide examples with emojis, then the AI tool will know that you like to use a lot of emojis in your tweets. The next is role prompting. So this is when you ask about something, you provide a perspective, a role that you would like to be included in the answer. So here, if you, because like on the example of test automation, so benefits of test automation might be a bit different if you are speaking from a QA perspective and from some business, more like business person perspective. Most points will be similar, but you can argue that there might be some differences. And if you specifically, you got, for example, task in your job to explain, like here in the prompt, that you are a senior QA engineer and your task is to educate a team of junior testers why automated testing is important. And if you provide the role that you particularly want to be included, then the answer might be more tailored to your needs. And for example, if you are some CEO of the company, then some points might be different because the CEO needs to put more attention or financial side, for example, whereas as a QA engineer, you your concern about finances is not that big. Your task is usually mostly to catch as many bugs and provide us as much quality as possible. So that is role prompting. Next is a very useful technique, in my opinion, is ask before answer prompting. So sometimes before prompting, we can just add the AI tool what pieces of information might be especially beneficial in the case that we are prompting about. So like here in this example, we want to have test cases for login feature. But even though login feature is kind of generic, so it's kind of similar in most applications, there still might be some subtle differences depending on the application we are working on. And if we ask about the pieces of information that will be valuable to the AI tool, then we get in the answer we get what we should provide to then have the better answer in the end. So that is actually one of my favorite techniques. I use it a lot, and I noticed that it can significantly improve the quality of the final answer. So that's highly recommended, if you ask me. Okay, next is self-reflective prompting. So this is like you basically ask something, but then you, in the same prompt or even next prompt, you ask the AI tool to just review it immediately and maybe try to improve it. So you are kind of encouraging the AI tool to analyze its own answer and then maybe improve it if possible, or suggest any improvements, or just make it better in any possible way. So it's like adding a few words, but sometimes in some cases it can significantly improve the final outcome. So it's useful as well, in my opinion. Okay, contextual prompting. So again, the more context and background information you provide, the better the answer will be. And here, in this example, you see this word HIPAA. So this is American legislation related to health services. And this one word, this one information that HIPAA should be considered can be a game changer in this situation. Because if we are testing or creating test cases for some application designed for American market, and it's healthcare sector, then we absolutely need to include this legislation in our test cases. We need to check whether the application is have all the required features and other things required by this legislation. And this one information can be a game changer in this case. So, for example, if we remove this HIPAA, then the answer might look different, but then our application would be deployed on the American market, and then the company could pay some penalties or something, and it can be really, really bad. So this is a good example of including context in our prompts. Okay, decomposition prompting. So this is the thing that we talked about before. So it's about breaking bigger tasks into smaller ones and sticking to this step-by-step approach instead of overwhelming the AI tool with some big task in one prompt, like, and by big task, I mean stuff like, please create the entire application, or maybe to a smaller extent, write the entire article. It can work in some cases, but in many cases, the article will be of better quality if we are, for example, created paragraph by paragraph. We created one paragraph, then we refine it, then we create the next paragraph, then we refine it, and then we create the next paragraph, and again. And we might achieve a lot better result using this technique instead of creating the entire article in one prompt. Next is chain of thought prompting. So this is actually, there was a lot pieces of information about this when the Chinese model DeepSeek was introduced. And because even though other models already used this technique, but it wasn't as flashy. And when the DeepSeek was introduced, it used this technique to a very big extent. And many users were under a big impression because it looks like this Chinese model is actually thinking more than some other models like ChatGPT and Claude and etc. And then if in the latest version of ChatGPT, we can switch between the normal model and more chain of thought model. So the difference is that chain of thought will just, instead of just providing the answer, it will provide you more information how it achieved the answer, how it created the answer. So more like a thinking process. Thinking process will be explained in more details. And in some cases, it can provide better results. But even if the result is not maybe that significantly better, then many users just feel more impressed because it resembles more how human thinks. When you see this user is asking about stuff A and B, let's let's check on the internet information about this and this, and then next step second is this, and step third is this. And in some cases it looks really impressive, and also in some cases with reasoning the final answer is better. From my experience with ChatGPT 5, usually when you use this so-called reasoning model, then it takes way more time before you get the final answer. Sometimes like 3 or 4 times more time to generate the answer. The quality in some cases it's better, in some cases it's not. Usually when I have enough time, I check both versions. So for example, I put the same prompt in the normal model and in this reasoning so-called model, and then I compare the results. So that's a good practice, I think. If you have enough time, you can check both versions and verify which one provided the better answers, more suited for your needs. Okay, next is iterative refinement prompting. So this is again kind of related to this step-by-step approach, which is so some of these techniques are a bit similar to each other, but also there are some subtle differences between them. So of course we have only 45 to 1 hour here, but if you would like to get more details, you can always search the web and find more detailed descriptions about these techniques if you feel that it would be beneficial to you. So again, in this case, you are creating test cases, and you can create test case, ask in one prompt to create test case, or you can just do it step by step. So first write test cases, then add the expected result, then maybe convert to Gherkin format as you need. So this BDD approach. Also, you can also, of course, you can put it all into one prompt, and it might generate a decent answer, but in most cases, from my experience, when you use this iterative refinement prompting, the final result can be much better. Okay, next is, in my opinion, again, a very useful technique, output formatic prompting. So sometimes you need to generate something, for example, test data. And I've seen people in the past that ask from some test data generation, and then they just try to copy it into their tool that they use. It can be Excel, it can be some test management tool, but it cannot be copied like 1-to-1. So if you copy it one by one, then it turns out that the formats are different in the testing management tool you use and generated by AI tool. And then people try to format it manually. So they copy line by line, then they add commas, for example, they add braces, etc. And of course, it can be done like that, but sometimes you can save a lot of time by just including the information what format you would like. And usually most testing tools use one of the formats like JSON, XML, CSV. So for example, if you're copying something to Excel, if you have it in CSV format right away, then it's in most cases will work just copy paste without any major issues. But otherwise, you need to spend a lot of time on adjusting the format so that you can, using this technique, output formatic prompting, you can really save a lot of time. So a very useful technique. I use it a lot as well. It's maybe it wouldn't improve the quality of the answer, but it definitely can save you a lot of time. Constraint-based prompting. So Here, sometimes, for example, you're writing an article or something like that, and you have some limits. You have some tone, so you have some limit of word count. And if you don't include this information, in first try, the article might be too long, and then you need to use the second prompt and type something like, "Oh, sorry, this article is too long. Please make it shorter." Then then you are again being too vague, too not detailed enough, and then you will get the article too short, for example. So then you write the third prompt, "Oh, this is too short. Please make it a bit longer." But you could achieve much better and much faster results if you include all these limits and rules in the first prompt initially. So you include, for example, the maximal word count, the tone, or do you want to include a lot of humor, maybe just a little humor, maybe no humor, if this is like the topic is not something that should not include that much humor or scope. So you can again save a lot of time, because if you include all that pieces of information right away, then you don't have to prompt as many times to correct the issues from the first prompt, because you were too generic and didn't include all the necessary pieces of information. Okay, and at the end we have some humor. So this is actually something that is becoming a problem in the training of AI tools, because it's turning out that chatbots mostly learn by obtaining the information from the internet. But nowadays, more and more information in the internet is created by chatbots, by AI tools. So basically what is happening is that the chatbots are starting to learn using the data created by chatbots. So they are starting to learn and to try at least to improve using their own data. And that is what makes some people worry that we might be close to the ceiling of the quality of some AI tools, at least in some aspects, because there will not be enough data of good quality, because it's basically, if you put poor data, bad quality data, then the AI tools will not be as good as you wish. And it's more and more problematic to get huge amount of new data of high quality. So that can be an issue in the future. And recursion is maybe some of you are aware and some of not. It's basically a concept in programming that the function call itself. So it's a bit more advanced. So I will not go deep into that. But it's for some a bit more advanced software engineers. For some people, if you can use efficiently recursion, you are a good software engineer, and that's why this is kind of funny, at least for some people. Okay, thank you for attention. That will be all from me. But now we have time for your questions, so feel free to ask any questions. I would really like to answer it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Hubert. Very, very informative presentation. Thank you. And yeah, let's transition to the Q&A. I don't think we have received any questions yet, so I will just leave some time for people to process all the information. I've actually noted 2 questions for myself. So I wanted to ask you, which prompting techniques do you find most effective, especially for debugging or analyzing test failures?
Okay, thank you for this question. So I would say let's maybe switch a few tests back. For debugging, I would say it's usually when you're debugging, it's usually about the context the AI tool to have. So it's say contextual prompting because usually in test automation frameworks, when there is a failure, you have some stack trace from some lines of code informing about the issue. But if you just copy paste only that, it might be not enough because it for some human, for some person working on this test automation framework, he or she has the necessary information like from the experience in the project, but the AI tool doesn't have that information. So then you need to provide more context. So even things like what versions of packages you are using in your test automation framework, things like that can even be useful. Or like if you're using JavaScript, what version of Node.js do you have? Things like that that sometimes are not included in the stack trace of the error. But if you provide enough context, then it might be easier for this chatbot or other AI tool to help you with debugging. So that's, I would say, probably the most important for that particular case.
Thank you. Thank you. In the meantime, I see one question: how to deal with sensitive data when using AI?
Okay, so what I do is I try to scan the data, with like several times before pasting it. So, and every name of every other things I try to anonymize. So, as I mentioned before, some company names, for example, some people names, I always try to change to some test name, test company, and things like that. If you have two or three of that, for example, it can be quickly changed manually, so that's not a big case. But if you are prompting but if you are pasting, for example, a lot of text into the chatbot, then it's can be, of course, more problematic. So that's why some companies just block usage of AI tools because they are not fully convinced that all the employees will know how to clear data from sensitive information. But there are some, as far as I know, I wouldn't lie, I haven't used them yet, but there are some tools that help you anonymize some data so that automatically, if you scan the web, you can find some tools like that. I know of their existence, but the issue is that still you need to double check whether these tools don't use AI as well. Because, for example, if you don't want to put sensitive data into AI, and then you use AI tool or a tool that is at least partially powered by AI to clear the data, then again you are just like moving in a circle, because again, so you need to be very, very careful, I would say. Unfortunately, there is not one great way to handle sensitive data. It's mostly about awareness. So everything starts from awareness. If you are aware, if you are careful, I think you should be fine with that.
Thank you. I also see another question. Can we use multiple techniques in one prompt? And if yes, which combos have worked best for you so far?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I haven't mentioned it clearly in the presentation, so that's a good point. But in general, the techniques are almost designed to be used together. So the more techniques you use, usually the better. And I would say in the vast majority of cases, they are not excluding each other. So it's not like if you use, for example, decomposition prompting, you cannot use output formatting prompting. Actually, you can easily use both. And in some very rare cases that they might not work that efficiently together, you will probably just get not the best result. And then I think you will learn from experience that this is, at least in my for my needs, because it can work in some contexts, but in some not. Like at least for my needs, it doesn't work that well. But in general, I always try to use as many techniques as possible, because even if these techniques will not improve a lot the quality of the answer, then they very rarely will worsen the quality of the answer. So at least you are not losing anything in vast majority of cases. So I would say that it's yeah, you should always try to combine them and just test what combinations work best for you and for your particular case and needs.
Great. Thank you so much, Hubert, again. I think we don't have any more questions. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for your attendance. And before we close, I again encourage you to check out our website, especially our blog, for further resources and information. Subscribe to our newsletter for updates, and follow us on social media to stay connected with us. Your engagement means a lot. And again, thank you so much for participating today. You all will receive a follow-up about the webinar via email, and the recording as well will be in the email and available on our YouTube channel. So thanks, and I wish everybody a great evening.